Alright, hello everyone, and welcome back to Donut Like Donut Read. My name is Julius, and with me today I have Adam.
At your service.
And Clemens.
Hello there.
And on this fine day in... what day is it today? Anyway, on this fine day we are gonna do something which we meant to do for a long time. Something that we've kind of been pushing back this project for a long time since the channel started basically, and now we're actually going to do it. So with that being said, let's talk about apples.
Oh, I love apples. Fucking love them.
Yeah, apples pretty good, and so something you probably don't know about me is that I grew up in the countryside. I mean, kind of. I went to school in a larger city and all, but my parents do have a pretty big garden, which my grandpa, who is unfortunately no longer with us, used to maintain. And that garden has a lot of apple trees with a lot of different varieties, and I've always been kind of fascinated with this. My grandpa had this book. I mean, we still own that book, but it's basically a book about apple varieties. It's pretty old at this point, from the 70s, literally from GDR times. And it lists a lot of varieties and gives information about the taste, when they ripen, how good they preserve, and stuff like that. What kind of soil you need to have to grow it, how you need to keep the tree. And I remember even as a kid looking at that book and just looking at the illustrations, and I always found it pretty fascinating.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense, right? You gotta know which apples are best for eating raw, which ones are best for pies, which ones are best for applesauce, which ones are best for throwing at people you hate, right?
Yeah. I think any apple can be used for that. It just needs to be ripe enough. But yeah, we are gonna go over some of the varieties that currently grow in the garden, and I'm gonna give you a bit of information about them.
Fantastic.
So, first of all, quick side tangent. What even is apple? So, apples are from a plant from the genus Malus. They come from the rose family of plants. And the current scientific consensus is that the domesticated apple, as we know it, came from a species called... I have it on a... I wrote it down here. Malus sieversii. I probably mispronounced that, but yeah. So from the current consensus is, and I think this was determined through genetic testing, but the domesticated apple probably originated from Central Asia, and from there it made its way around the world. It was for a long time believed that it came from the European crabapple, but as far as I'm aware, that has been debunked at this point, or...
That's wild. It's kind of like how I think they say potatoes actually came from South America, but you would never think about that.
I think I knew that. I think I knew that because, I mean, it's pretty significant in Europe, the potato being introduced. I think that had historical significance.
Yeah. I guess in America, we're all taught about potatoes being related to the Irish, and therefore we probably all just assumed potatoes came from Ireland. I don't know.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
What is the yellow thing there?
I was gonna talk about that. So Apples are a type of fruit that's called a pome. And you can spot a pome by I guess you can see it here, but if we quickly look at this other slides, it has these like little leaflets sticking out at the very end.
Oh, okay.
And it has this core.
Kinda
And there are a few related genuses that have similar fruits, which include such grapefruit, such as the pear, of course, everyone knows about that, but also the hawthorn, rowan berries, or medlars. Only true OGs know what medlars are.
I guess I'm not a true OG, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's a fruit that has fallen into obscurity a little bit.
Oh.
And also, one of, in my opinion, fruit that, at least in the Western world, is way underappreciated. The quince, as seen here, which, this type of quince looks very similar to an apple, but it's not. It's a different fruit. But also in the rose family, and yeah, it's the same type of fruit. That's why it looks so similar.
Ooh, okay. I didn't even know there was, like, fruits related to the rose family. Okay.
Yeah, I remember a friend who went to Brazil brought some things back that didn't have kernels inside, and they were called like the... They looked like apples, but they weren't apples.
Huh.
I don't remember what they were called.
Alright, so here, this is a really simplified map of our garden, and the red spot, these red crosses mark where the apple trees stand. We also have a few other fruit trees. Like we have a few, I think we have one sweet cherry, a few sour cherries, we have plums, mostly prune plums, but also a green gage tree, which is pretty cool. Green gages are great. And I forgot what I was going to say. Wait. There are also peaches. That's what I wanted to say. I had a blackout. I'm sorry.
Okay. There's a lot of apples. Like, a lot of different kinds of apples in one yard, right?
Yeah. So, you might notice some of these are unknown. So like I said, my grandpa, who used to maintain this, is not with us anymore. And, when he died, he kind of took, like, he knew what all these types were. He, like, planted them, but when he died, we didn't really know what these types were. I mean, I remembered some, because he told me, but with some of them, we still don't really know what types they are. And with some, I've kind of attempted to, attempted to determine what they are, like, based on looks, with, like I said, he owned this book, which I try to use, but in some cases that works, because the fruit is just, like, the variety is just so distinct, but with some it can get pretty hard, so that's why there are still unknown types, or I guess, like, this Aurelia types that I put a question mark behind, because I think I'm pretty sure, but also I don't really know if that's the type. And some of these, but I get into this, some of these we only recently planted last year. So in those cases we can be pretty sure, but yeah, we're gonna go over most of the ones where I'm sure what they are. Unfortunately, I wish I could have only provided, like, pictures of the apples themselves that I made over the year, but I kind of had this idea too late in the year. And also, like, even the apples that we still had, they didn't preserve well this year, so by the time I could photograph them in the crates, they had kind of gone bad. So I'm gonna be using like pictures on the web for some of these, but yeah, that's okay.
That's fair. It happens.
But yeah, here's the new trees we bought, and I'm gonna go over these like pretty quickly because like unlike the other ones here, I didn't have like most of these except for this one. I didn't try them before. Obviously, because we just bought these trees and they haven't bared any fruit yet. Except that one tiny one. But yeah, but to summarize, this one is called Berlepsch. That's a German cultivar from, I think it originated in the 1900s. This one in particular is a red mutant, but that just changes the color, not any of the other attributes. This one next to it is called King of the Pippins, which is a pretty cool name. Also, I think historically it's also been referred to as gold pearmain or winter gold pearmain. This is pretty old. I think it has been around since at least the 1700s. It came from France and was for a long time one of the most sought after varieties, so that's a pretty cool thing to have. Then this is the most modern of these types, but this is something we had in the garden before and then that tree died, so that's why we basically bought a replacement. This is called Corolla. Also, I think it has also been referred to as Kelso, especially in West Germany, but this was developed in East Germany in the 60s, I think. And then the one at the right is I don't think this even has an English name, but this is called Prinzenapfel, which you could translate to like the prince's apple.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say,
and this is
a lot of us Americans probably won't be able to read these, but I appreciate the translation.
Yeah, but this is also a pretty old variety. Also, has probably been around since at least the 1700s, and as you can see, it's pretty elongated, pretty interesting looking.
That is actually pretty wild looking. Yeah.
It also has a lot of like weird regional names because of its form. It's not really known where it came from, but probably somewhere from northern Germany. And yeah, it has all of these crazy historical like regional names, like names that translate to stuff like rabbit snout or rabbit's head. Or I think melon apple was also one of them. And I think I couldn't really check if that was legit, but I think one of them was literally nun-tit.
That's what's supposed to be what it sounds like, right? When you say nun-tit?
No, that's not what it sounds like. That's what it translates to. I'm sorry.
That's what I meant, but yeah,
like, people literally call this a nun-tit.
That's cruel. I love it.
From the good old Nuttenberg farm.
Yeah. Yeah, that's that's the apples Elaine grows. But yeah, it's also supposed to like smell like kind of like pineapple. I'm excited to see if that's true. But yeah, now to the ones that I've actually tried before. And we're starting with a variety called White Transparent.
They don't look transparent.
Yeah, not really.
So the name is a lie. That's awful. Why would they do that to us? I was getting excited. I was hoping for some invisible apples here.
I mean, I can kind of see where this comes from. I think the skin has kind of a translucent quality to it, but yeah, it's not literally transparent, unfortunately. But yeah, so this, I don't think it's entirely known where this originated, but it probably came from like either Scandinavia or the Baltics, or like roughly that region. But it was spread to the rest of Europe from Latvia in 1852. And the most interesting thing about this cultivar is how early it ripens. Like the picking season for these is, at least where I live, it's around mid-July. So that's why it's also referred to as a July apple.
Okay.
And yeah, it has the taste of this is like, it's kind of harsh. It's like a sharp, acidic taste. Not really much sweetness in there. As you can see, there's a YouTube channel called Weird Explorer, who I guess I'm just gonna shout out here. He's just a guy who like tries all kinds of different fruits from around the world and like rates them on their taste. And he had these when he made a trip to Estonia. But unfortunately, from what I've seen in the video, I think the one he had was like off already, because he described it as like very soft and like very faint and not acidic at all. Which tells me that it was probably like in storage for too long. Mm-hmm. Like sometimes you'll just get a bad apple. I guess this is a side tangent, but I recently also saw some parts of a Babish video where he had like I think he had like 50 apple types that he tried one after the other, and some of the ones he tried were also clearly like off. But since he probably didn't, but since he didn't know that, he blamed the variety. Which I guess that's something that can happen when you have like just one apple to try from each cultivar. Or when you're just doing this and like when they're out of season already. And yeah, these apples also, they don't preserve for long. Like they can hold for a few weeks at the max, and then they tend to turn mealy really quickly. And I think that's one of the reasons why these are pretty much out of fashion now. Like you probably won't find these in the stores, like mainly because of that, but also because they don't have a lot of sweetness, and I think many consumers nowadays don't appreciate that kind of taste. And they're more of cooking and baking apples, but I think they've also been eaten raw, mainly because they are so early in the season. Like when they are in season, no other variety is.
I kind of want to try one now. You know, sharp acidic taste. That's curious.
I do enjoy these, but I guess that comes down to taste. Also, I didn't have any pictures of our white transparents, but I did still have this picture of a pie baked lying around, and I used white transparent apples for that. So they're good for that use. Alright, then the next one is this one called Belle de Boscop, which that name in English means the pretty one from Boscope. Boscope is where this was found in 1856.
Is that name ironic? Because it does not look like a pretty apple.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna get at. It's called that, but like one of its most distinguishing features is that it looks I guess you could say it's rustic looking.
That's a very generous word for what this looks like. It looks like a very ugly apple. Maybe it tastes good, but it doesn't look good.
I think there's a name for this brownish stuff, but I don't know what the English name is. But yeah, that's how you can spot a bosco. So yeah, this was a Chan seedling, which basically means
aliens
a
left
tree
us.
just.
I think aliens left a seed there for us to find. But you can go ahead with your riffing joke explanation.
I mean, you can say that it's not. A Chan seedling basically means like apples. I don't know if you know this, but apples don't grow true to seed. So if you take a Granny Smith, the tree you're gonna grow from that isn't necessarily gonna have apples that are gonna be that similar to Granny Smith. Of course, also that's gonna depend on like what stuff has been around, what this has been pollinated by, and stuff like that. But yeah, Chan seedling is basically oftentimes it's just a tree someone found that had apples that had like good attributes, either because they taste good, or they preserve well, or they look good, and then that gets then you take that and you purposely breed that, and that's how a lot of varieties originate from. Like they're just Chan seedlings that someone found somewhere. But yeah, this specific type, this is something you can still find in German supermarkets, despite the fact that it's pretty old variety at this point. But it's something in my, I think this is something you'll only find in like autumn and winter. Like it's very much a winter apple that preserves well, and the flavor is also very tart. It's not quite like the white transparent, because this does have sweetness under but it's kind of like, I think the same is true for a Granny Smith. Like they are sweet, but it's kind of masked by high amounts of acidity. And it also has, I think I was looking for a word to describe the aroma of this. Don't know, kind of, I guess I'd describe it as kind of earthy or hardy, but I don't think that would quite describe it. I would know what word I would use in German, but not in English. So, but it has a flavor, like it has an aroma that's pretty distinct about it.
So you're saying it tastes better than it looks.
Yeah, but it's also I guess of course it depends, because like, I mean, first of all, this is true for any apple. If you have a tree in your garden and you can pick them like at the optimal like ripeness, then they're always gonna taste better than something you got in a store. I think that might also have to do with that they get picked early, the ones that you have in store, so they preserve better.
Mm-hmm. Do people in Germany like to go to, just make a day of it, go to an apple orchard to buy like local apples and like local foodstuffs? Because that's a very common thing in like the middle Northeast Ohio, Northeast America and stuff like that. You know?
So one time a week there is market day, so the city fills with the local farmers and other people selling their stuff, so you can get apples directly from farmers, but there's also quite a large selection of apples in any supermarket here, so I personally buy my apples in the supermarket, but I don't know how the percentage is, who goes to the farmer's market, who goes to the supermarket.
Yeah. But I'm also saying, like, sometimes in America we like to go straight to orchards that have, like, commercial shops running out of them, basically.
Strawberries are very big with go there and pick your own things.
Oh yeah.
But
Okay.
I never noticed. I never noticed it for any other fruit.
We've done pick your own apples before, so.
Where I live, there's like a yearly. Where my parents live, there's a yearly like festival because there's an orchard there, and they have a yearly festival, which is like you can buy apples there. You can also pick your own ones, I think. It's also like basically a farming festival. You can also buy like pigeons or chickens or stuff like that there. So yeah, but that's gonna be dependent on where exactly you live.
Yeah, these chickens remind me of a joke. Sorry for bringing this off topic, but you're sitting in a restaurant, the waiter comes and says, "These chicken nuggets are from the man over there." What do you do? Will you talk to the man?
But yeah, this is also more of a cooking apple. If you have them straight from the tree and you wait until they're like at their peak sweetness, if you like sour apples, then you're gonna enjoy these, I think. But they're more well known as baking apples. Like, I think specifically these are pretty popular for like whole roasted / baked apples. I think in the supermarket I go to at certain times of the year, you can literally like buy these as marketed as roasting apples. So the next one is called Idaret, which, as the name implies, comes from Idaho. Well, Moscow, Idaho, to be exact. This was bred by interbreeding two other varieties, Jonathan and one called Wagoner. And this also, as you can see, this also showed up in a Weird Explorer video.
But these are from America, you're saying?
These are from America, yeah. Some of these are American varieties. Not all of these are like... I mean, these come from all over the place. Like, the first one came from, as I explained, came from like the Baltics, and the other one came from the Netherlands, and yeah, this came from Moscow, Idaho.
USA. Okay.
Yeah.
Also got featured in the Babish video, and I think both were very fair when describing the taste, because both basically says, and I can attest to this too, this is like the definition of an okay apple. Like, it has a good amount of tartness, it has a good amount of sweetness, and it has like that classic apple flavor that you would expect from an apple. It's like the most apple-tasting apple, I guess. So not really that interesting, but a solid apple. Yeah, and for this one I actually have pictures of the ones we have. As you can see, these are kind of off by now, but this one looks a little better. It's out of focus though. Yeah, you can see pretty classy looking, pretty red. Also, this sign in the YouTube video says they turn pink when cooked, like specifically the flesh turns pink when cooked, which I haven't cooked. I've never cooked the flesh, so I guess I can't fully attest to that. I have made juice from these though, and pasteurized the juice, and that didn't turn pink, so... But then again, maybe it's just the flesh, I don't know.
I actually have something to talk about with this. When we were kids, and my grandma, when she was alive and she was making us applesauce, Actually, I think both her and Grandpa made it. Their applesauce always ended up turning up pink. And whenever I see anyone make applesauce nowadays, like whether it's my wife or my family or whoever, I never see it coming out pink. I never understood how theirs came out more of a pinkish color. Maybe this is why?
That might actually be. I mean, there is definitely varieties where I think also the red pigments from the skin can seep into the sauce if you're using the whole fruit.
Okay,
maybe that depends on the variety.
Yeah,
it might have been that.
It's too bad. I never really thought to ask them about that. I never really. It didn't seem important, but now I'm actually kind of curious why that was. So,
Yeah, and also something good about them is that they're pretty robust. They have pretty high yield and are also consistent in their yield, with which some varieties are not. Like, some varieties tend to alternate. There's going to be years where you have almost none, and some where you're gonna have a high yield. So you gotta account for that.
Yeah, and they managed it by using Jonathan and not J. Honathan.
The J. Honathan apple. Oh man. Alright, so this one is pretty interesting. This is called Schöner von Herrnhut, which translates to the pretty one from Herrnhut. Herrnhut is just a place in Saxony.
It's definitely prettier than another one that was called the pretty one.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of varieties are just called the pretty one from da-da-da. Like, that's a pretty common name trope. So another one being, when they're from, the 19th century, then they're often gonna be named after some nobleman or some politician.
So it's like the Miss Universe pageants, but they're all apples.
Yeah. Yeah, basically.
I can dig that.
So yeah, this comes from the 19th century. Was also a chance seedling. This is from Saxony. And this is pretty distinct, mainly for its skin, which becomes sort of oily when the apple's ripe. That's how you can tell that they're really ripe. And they also have a really soft flesh, while the skin is very tough, and the aroma is kind of faint. There's a little bit of sweetness, a little bit of tartness, but it's compared to other varieties, it's pretty faint. I don't know, I think these are supposed to be good for juicing, but not for making applesauce, because as I've read, the flesh is supposed to, it's supposed to turn grayish and look really unappetizing. Never tried that, but...
But does it taste good?
I mean, I guess that depends on what you like. I'm not the biggest fan. Like I said, I like strong, tart apples. I like acidic apples. This one is pretty mellow. And I'm also not the biggest fan of the texture. Like I said, it is... I mean, it's kind of interesting. It's almost like biting into applesauce. But also the skin, like I said, is pretty tough, and I find that a bit unpleasant. So yeah, that's not my favorite type. It also has, I don't know how good you can see this, it sometimes has these red spots in the flesh. That's okay. That's another way to tell that you have this variety at your hand. That's why I chose this picture in particular, because you can see that here. Then the next one, these didn't really grow this year, so I didn't have them that recently, but I still kind of know what they taste like. This is another not transparent apple that's called transparent for some reason. And this one is a French variety called Transparent de Croncel, also named after where it was found. or raised in this case. Yeah, I don't remember that much about the taste. I think like it was a decent tasting apple, and it also had a pretty soft flesh, and I think that's the thing I remember most about this. But I can't say that much else about it. So I guess we're gonna move on from this to this apple, which is called Spartan. And this comes from Canada, actually. And it was bred by interbreeding Macintosh, which is a type we used to have, but not even the tree fell. It was like you can put. Did you know that you can put like I don't know what the English word for that process is, but you can basically put a branch of another variety onto another tree, and then that branch is gonna grow like to be a part of the tree and gonna have like and by that way you can have multiple varieties on one tree. And I think that's also how these are often bred, specifically because like they don't like I said, they don't grow true to seed. And also it can be beneficial to, if you have a finicky like variety, to put them like on a more robust trunk. But yeah, we had a branch of Macintosh that was on the Boscope tree, and that fell in the storm, so we don't have them anymore. But yeah, apparently Macintosh and another type called Yellow Newtown Pippin were interbred, according to most sources, but according to the English Wikipedia article, that has been the Yellow Newtown Pippin part has been disproven by genetic analysis. I don't know how legit that is, because the only source was like a transcript of the video that you can't even watch anymore. And I haven't found anything, like any other sources for this.
Are we still in a PowerPoint, or are we in a Creepypasta right now?
Yeah, I guess actual source unknown.
Guys, a crazy thing happened the other day. Someone knocked on my door and they offered me a free apple. Naturally, I'm going to say yes. So I take it, and then as I'm closing the door, I hear the guy say, "Glad I got that off my hands."
The ancient scriptures warned me of interbreeding Macintosh and Yellow Newton Pippin, but I didn't listen.
Well, if it was the Newtown Pippin, that is. Might not have been.
I think we're also... The most important question here is the Spartan apple better than the Persian apple? I mean, these are the real questions, you know? I mean, this has to be... If not, that would be complete madness.
Yeah. But as you can see, this variety, these have this gorgeous deep red color. Like, they're very pretty apples. They also have a very, like, white flesh, as you can see here.
Very handsome apple, yeah.
So the taste is, this has a very low acidity. I wouldn't say this is it. It's like, it does have sweetness. It has kind of a faint aroma. Like it does have an aroma to it, but like it's like very low on tartness, and because of that, this is kind of my least favorite that we have. I guess it's kind of tied with Schöner von Herrnhut. I guess in this case I like the consistency a bit more. This is more of a crisp apple. But yeah, I don't like these. I'm not gonna say it's bad because of that, because like it's a matter of taste, right? some people like I can imagine there are some people who like don't like overly acidic apples, and they would probably appreciate this.
Yeah, I
like
guess
it does have
on what
a
you
lot
like.
of sweetness, so yeah, it's just not for me. And and these have a very high yield, so we have so much of them every year. But yeah, that's the Spartan for you.
So they have very good yields, and Julius doesn't like them as much, so these are the apples you can throw at your enemies.
Especially the Persians. I don't mean that in an offensive way. I just mean that because they're called Spartan apples.
Yeah. Oh, now I get the joke. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't. I thought there was some kind of thing that was called Persian apples, and only now am I realizing that you were referring to
No, I'm making
300.
I'm making 300 / like Greek history references.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, 300 was my favorite 100% factual documentary.
Oh god. So we're moving on to a pretty well-known variety that you've probably heard of. It's the Golden Delicious.
Woo!
Hooray.
I love these ones.
Yeah, me too.
Well, aren't these... I could have sworn there are some people who dislike these.
But that's like
And
with
to be
every apple,
fair-
right?
I guess so, yeah. Yeah, but these are... Like, I don't know, they're still going pretty hot, so... when I found out that these, were found in, 1890, I was pretty surprised. I thought they were, a more modern variety, but they're pretty old, all things considered, and they're, still going pretty strong all over the world. So I guess they have that going for them. I mean, what I found with these, I don't really like Golden Delicious apples from the store, or at least the one I managed to get. Especially when they're still green, I find that they're pretty, watery and don't, they taste pretty faint and watery. I have, however, found out that if you have one that has properly ripened in under good climate, under good weather conditions, then these are pretty tasty, and they have this intensely sweet aroma. These do need relatively warm climates, however, so the ones that we have in our gardens, I guess where we are, it's not like North Germany where it's cold and windy all the time, but it's not in its optimal range, so it kind of depends on the year whether they get really good or not. And I've only read this on Wikipedia. I haven't really confirmed this, so take this with a grain of salt, but what I heard is that in the GDR in East Germany, they were bred despite the fact that most of Eastern Germany doesn't really suit them. Most of Eastern Germany is too cold to properly grow them if you want them to grow to their proper ripeness. But they were still planted in large amounts because they have a high yield and they preserve pretty well. And that apparently led to a lot of bad Golden Delicious on the market. People didn't like that.
Yeah, and here's a little bit of the LDR lore. The chance seedling in 1890 was planted by me because I knew I would like them, so I made sure they get discovered. And if you start arguing with me about time travel paradoxes, I have a time machine. You don't. You don't need to teach me. I know. And you don't even need to argue with me about this.
But yeah, if you actually get one, this one is actually store-bought. This is the yellowest one that I could find. And if you get one at its peak, I think these can be pretty good. And Another thing it has going for it is that it's used in these in these Italian cookies, these Italian apple cookies, which I really enjoy.
What is in those? Like, is there just it's apple and honey, maybe?
Yeah, they're like crumbly. I don't know if there's honey in there. It's like an apple, kind of like an apple pie filling sort of deal.
Okay, I don't want to try one
And
of those. Too bad they probably don't sell them here, though.
Yeah, I don't think... You can sometimes get them in Germany, but not that often. I think the first time I had them was in Italy, because we used to go to South Tyrol, which is also where a lot of apples are grown, coincidentally, and where golden delicious that you get in Germany are mostly grown. But we used to travel there very often, so that's where I fell in love with these things. They're pretty good. So from the Golden Delicious to something that looks like a Golden Delicious, kind of, but is not. And this is called the Yellow Bellflower, and this I might go on a limb here and say this is probably my favorite variety, at least that we have at the moment. I mean, for one, because I genuinely love the taste, but also because this is just such a hipster thing to say. You know, my favorite apple is the Yellow Bellflower, because I don't think these are well known anymore.
They kind of look like the Golden Delicious's evil twin.
Yeah, they're actually older than the Golden Delicious. I don't think this is old enough to not have its origin really known, because it wasn't really recorded, but like I've done a lot of these information where these come from. I've just gotten from the UK National Fruit Collection. They have a website where you kill, and they got a data bank for all sorts of fruit varieties, but also apple varieties. And according to them, it was already known in 1817, so it was probably older than that. I think it literally said it was old in 1817, which I think means that it was already considered an old variety in that time. So yeah, probably has been around since the 1700s. The name is also sometimes called belle fleur, which is French for pretty flowers, because apparently the flowers from this variety are very pretty.
Yeah.
As people say.
They're pretty there, yeah.
And yeah, compared to the Golden Delicious, these are a bit more tart in their taste, and they have a really unique aroma that I enjoy very much. I think I've seen this described as quince-like on Wikipedia, which I think is the best description you could give for these. I mean, do you know what quinces taste like?
I don't know what a quince is. I mean, I don't think I've ever had. I don't know.
That's the fruit I was showing earlier.
Oh yeah.
The fruit that looked kind of like an apple.
Yeah, I'm not familiar though, so yeah.
Yeah, they might. I don't know if they're. I don't even know if you have them in the States. Like, even here in Germany, they've kind of gone out of fashion, because they're not like apples where you can eat them from the trees, at least the varieties you have like in Europe. They're really like hard, and you can only cook them into like preserves, or I think mostly they're made into jelly or sometimes juice. But in Germany you can mainly find them as quince jelly. And yeah, I always found their flavor like super refreshing. I don't know, it's kind of appley, but also kind of not. It has like a spike of tartness. It's pretty good. And the yellow bellflower kind of reminds me of that, which is why it's my current favorite variety.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the GDR book I had described the aroma as similar to bananas, which I don't really see, and also I just have to make the joke here. How would he know? Because he was from East Germany. And now that we got that out of the way, let's move on to the last one on the list, which is the Geheimrat Bräuhahn. I think often this is just referred to as Bräuhahn. I don't know if, like, a lot of varieties, like, especially if they're like if they were bred in the 19th century, they're named after like some rich dude. Like,
of course.
I've talked about one called I've talked about a variety called Berlepsch at the beginning, and I didn't actually give the full name there because the full name of Berlepsch is actually not Berlepsch, but the actual full name is Goldrenette Freiherr von Berlepsch. Freiherr being like a noble title. I don't know what the English equivalent would be, but like, yeah, named after some nobleman or some politician at the time.
Yeah.
And I assume this is what happened here. I don't really know. This was bred from another variety called Halberstädter Jungfernapfel in the Hessian city Geisenheim, which has like the fruit, vine, and horticultural research station there. That's like one of the big research stations that bred new varieties. I think the big one in Western Germany after the Iron Curtain came down. The Eastern German one being the one in... Oh god, I forgot what the place was called. But yeah, this is not the most, I guess not the most interesting, outstanding apple, but it does taste pretty good. It preserves well, and the flavor is like, it's more in the tartar side. I think. I've read that apparently, depending on what soil this grew on, the flavors like kind of differ. But since I've only ever eaten them from the one tree we have, I don't know if that's true or how much different these can taste. I can only attest the ones that we have, and the ones I had, to me, they had a pretty like bright tart taste. Like, I guess, can you say grassy? They kind of reminded me of like the flavor of Granny Smith. I guess not as firm, and maybe a little bit sweeter, but that kind of flavor profile that I would normally associate with green apples. And yeah, that I guess that was our last variety that we've talked about.
So now we switch
I
from
have to put
wheels.
I have to put these credits on screen.
Yeah, we would have docked points from you if you didn't decide to list your sources, you know?
We switch from a wheel POV to a sources POV.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. That's the last slide.
Terrifying.
I don't know, is this supposed to remind us of something? I guess I've seen this dude somewhere.
Yeah, that's familiar.
It's probably nothing. Probably not that important.
Knock on wood.
Yeah. But yeah, regardless, I hope you learned something about apple diversity.
Yeah,
I think that's really something to appreciate. Just how much variety there truly is with apples.
Yeah, there's always don't contact anyone we cover, so don't contact Julius. We will fucking ban you if you interact with him. He will post questions in the Discord, but it's just a test. Don't reply to him.
Yeah. We will throw the grossest apples we have at your heads.
Yeah, we have many Spartan apples, and we are not afraid to use them.
Yeah, we do have too much Spartan apples. We can spare a few to throw at you. That rhymed.
Yeah, so have a happy April, I mean.
Leave your apple hot takes in the comments. What is your favorite apple? And then probably everyone's gonna say, oh, Honey Crunch, because every time, because that's what every Apple video I've ever seen, at least one person was like, yeah, Honey Crunch is the best apple.
My wife
or
likes
like
Honey
Cosmic
Crisp.
Crunch.
My wife
Or like
loves
Honey Crisp.
so.
I think they're marketed under the name Honey Crunch here.
Oh, that's it then.
But
yeah.
I think they are Honey Crisp. Just marketed under different names. Yeah.
All right. Well, we learned a lot today. Knowledge is power, as they say.
And if you think that's confusing, did you know that pink ladies are actually called Crips? And pink lady is like a marketing name.
Crips, you said?
Can get pretty... Yeah, I think it's called Crips, and pink lady is specifically a marketing name that you have to buy. I might be talking out of my ass here, but there's something... It's like with some of the current varieties that are on the market, it can get like confusing. There's like confusing stuff with name rights.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Again, learning all sorts of things. So, yeah. Well.
And always remember, if you apple read.
Bye.
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 Hey, Apple.